Hello to everybody out there. We are coming to you on behalf of Bananas at Large. We have two locations in San Rafael and Santa Rosa, California. I am really excited to introduce you today to someone who has been taking the internet by storm with his unique take on impressing random strangers with his musical talents. So it is my pleasure and excitement to introduce you to Frank Tedesco.
Hello, I'm Frank.
Hi, Frank.
How are you?
Good. I am doing fantastic today. It's a little bit of a rainy day here in California, but we appreciate the rain when we get it, just not the downpours.
For sure, yeah.
Well, we are super excited to have you here with us. Thank you for being here and taking the time. I have enjoyed watching your videos myself, as have I know millions of other people, and seeing just the joy and kind of the surprise that you give people with what you do. And I know that seeing somebody with your kind of talent, it really makes me wonder, what could I have done if I didn't stop taking piano lessons at 16?
It's a pretty common thing, actually, people taking piano lessons when they're young and then they stop, and then later on in life, they're like, man, I kind of wish I didn't stop. It seems pretty common, unfortunately.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Did you take piano lessons? Are you self-taught?
I took piano lessons. Yeah, I was originally a drummer first. I started playing drums at a really early age, like 3 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I had taken drum lessons from when I was 7 to when I was 13. And then I didn't start playing piano actually until I was 14. So I got a relatively late start. But I was self-taught for the first year when I was 14. And then I took lessons from when I was 15 to 18 and then all throughout university as well. So I was only self-taught on piano for 1 year.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then did I read somewhere that you went to Japan to study as well?
I did. It was like an abroad thing in school. So my first semester of senior year, I was able to go to Japan for like a 3.5 month thing and take Japanese classes and music classes. I lived with a Japanese family. It was absolutely wild. One of the best experiences of my life.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, I would love to go to Japan. It's such a beautiful culture and so rich in their history.
For sure. And it's clean and the food is good. And it's great.
Yes, food.
Yeah, great experience for sure.
So one of the questions I really wanted to ask you, in many of the videos that I've seen, people will say, do you have perfect pitch? And your answer is always no, but I have relative pitch. So could you explain a little bit more what that means and how you use that to do your videos?
Oh, sure. Okay. So perfect pitch is something that you're kind of born with. And relative pitch is something where you basically learn intervals, the distance between two notes, and you can get really, really familiar with how those sound. So for example, this pitch, this distance is different than this distance. And you can actually memorize how those sound. So when you're listening to music and specifically melodies, you can kind of hear how that goes. And that's sort of relative pitch. And so it's one of those things where if I hit a G, I don't actually know that it's the note G, but if I have a reference note, so like if I hear C in my head and somebody plays G, I can immediately say, oh, that's a G, not because I hear G, but because I hear the distance from C. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you're hearing a song from someone has requested something that you're not familiar with right off the bat, and you kind of listen to it, and I see you kind of pick
I'll usually
note, like, is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly. I'll usually pluck a note. Sometimes I'll have a note in my head, but if depending on if I'm just getting out of a crazy conversation, I'll give myself a little refresher and just keep that in my head for when I start listening. And I look for the tonic, like the root chord of whatever song it is that I'm listening to,
Right.
count up real quick, and then I know what key I'm playing in. So it's an analogy I like to use for perfect pitch versus relative pitch is it's like with perfect pitch, when you see the color red, you know what the color red is. You don't need to see green to identify red. And that's
Sure.
kind of how I like to think about, relative pitch versus perfect pitch.
Yeah, because I know when you're replaying something that you're not familiar with, you're kind of finding those references and the stuff that sort of stands out, I guess, to the ear.
Mm.
That's what makes it sound so similar to the original, the song, and just shocks people so much because they would think, how does he memorize all of these songs? There's no way.
Yeah, well, it's really exciting with relative pitch because it's a skill and anyone can get better at it. I didn't know how to do this when I first started piano, but I trained really, really, really hard for many years, and a lot of it is learning music theory and learning all about key signatures and transposition and things like chord qualities, being able to memorize how major chords sound versus minor chords and augmented and diminished, and all of those things kind of culminate together while I'm listening to a song, and it sort of just all comes together.
Sure, sure. A lot of practice.
Yeah, I would say so, especially well, yeah, in college, it'd be like 6, 7 hour nights in the practice rooms.
Do you ever get ear fatigue from that type
Yeah,
of that kind of work?
I do. Yeah, and I'm better these days of giving it a bit of a rest, but definitely would see some ear fatigue, especially in college.
Yeah. And you've been doing videos online for a while, but you only started Omegle about a year ago, you had said?
That's correct. I've been uploading on my YouTube channel for about 12 years, but it's only in the past year and a half that I've started doing Omegle videos.
And what got your curiosity up to even try that or kind of put yourself out there that way?
Sure. Yeah. One of my friends, Marcus Veltri, is a YouTuber and he does Omegle stuff. And there was a day a few years ago that he wanted me to collaborate with him on a video, on an Omegle video. So we did that and it was an awesome time. But at that time, at my living situation at the time, I didn't really have the equipment or the means to make those videos on my own. So fast forward a couple years, I got myself the equipment and I was in a position to give it a shot, and I absolutely loved it. I had so much fun. It was a blast. So the rest
And
was
you stream on Twitch as well?
I do.
And what do you do the same kind of stuff on Twitch, or are you doing more instructional or
I do the same type of stuff on Twitch. I don't stream Omegle on Twitch. I basically go on Twitch, hang out with chat. I take song requests. I have a song list. I'll do live loops, kind of the same stuff that I do on Omegle, but in a live interactive setting with the chat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll have to check one of those out. Um, I have a link to your website, which also has a link to on your site. You have a great kind of a list link of all of your different places that you stream, the YouTube channel, things like that. So anybody that's watching, if you would like to go and check that out, there's plenty of information right there on his website. All right, so let me see. In all of the song requests that you've taken, and I've seen so many different variations. I've seen, video game songs and movie theme songs and things like that. Did you have any that kind of surprised you that you thought, oh my gosh, I never would have imagined that I'd like this song or that it'd be so much fun to play?
Hmm. That's a good question. I'm trying to think because I get things all over the spectrum of
Yeah.
genres. Some of the rap songs that I get are really difficult because a lot of them won't have any like melodic components to attach onto. So it
Sure.
forces me to be really creative. It'll be like a drum beat and maybe like a two-note hook and like a sub bass. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, geez, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
But you try your best, and sometimes it forces you to come up with some really cool stuff. So I
Yeah.
would say that.
The creativity for sure.
Yeah, I like being put in a box sometimes because, sometimes when you have too much choice, it's actually like debilitating, ironically.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten kind of nervous feeling as you kind of came up in your musical endeavors and your creative talents? Have you ever had that feeling of like the imposter syndrome?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
And what advice would you give to other new and coming up musicians who are doing in creative endeavors like you are, to sort of get over that?
Well, I think trying to not compare yourself to others is a good first step, but that's so much easier said than done because it's like you're realistically going to compare yourself to people who are doing what you're doing, but you want to try to do it in a way that is inspiring and not discouraging. So I always like to tell people to try to use their influences as references instead of, as a reference. So instead of a comparison. So
Sure.
see what they're doing and try to take something from it, but try your best not to get discouraged from people. It should be inspiring, but it's so much harder than said.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know it can't be easy. You didn't pick this up in one day, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's something I would say. Like, it's especially with social media nowadays, it's so easy to go on and see hundreds of unbelievably talented people, and that can be very discouraging. So it's like finding a balance of not getting discouraged, but also watching those people to get inspired. You know,
Sure.
it
Sure.
was very similar when I was in college. A lot of piano players in my college, I would walk down the halls of practice rooms and hear pianists that, I mean, I'll just never be that good. It's
Mhm.
just it's incredible talent. But you really want to try to think of that in a positive way as motivation.
Absolutely. I think we have students at our store. We teach music lessons for all different instruments. And, I remember being a young piano student and thinking, oh gosh, I'll never play for Elise. I'll never
Mm.
play Moonlight Sonata. I'll never, be able to do these pieces. But, slowly as you practice and you get better and you get more confident. I never quite got over my stage fright with piano recitals,
Yeah.
but I could play it at home pretty good.
That's great. I'm not even sure stage fright ever truly goes away. I still get nervous. I mean, I think it's a good thing. It means you care and
Yeah,
you're excited.
absolutely, absolutely. So you mentioned all the gear that you have. Can you give us a little tour of some of the things that you're using and how
Oh,
you use them?
sure. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So the in front of me, I have the Roland Phantom 8, my baby. And this is my other baby. This is a Korg Kronos. I don't know. Let me see. Can I switch my camera? Because I have a second camera.
Without your helper there. Oh,
Yeah,
look
can
at
you see that?
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I just wanted you to be able to see my RC505 loop station right here.
Oh, okay.
So this everything that I have is routed to my loop station.
Okay.
So Phantom, Kronos, and then I have a TC Helicon Voice Live Play for vocal effects over here. I could probably switch this back.
Very cool.
Yeah. And all of that goes into a mixer. So I should clarify, all of these keyboards go into what is this? The Pro FX 12. It's a
Okay.
mixer. And then the mixer is actually output into the RC. So everything funnels into the RC, which directly goes into my computer, except for my microphone, which is being routed into my Phantom so that I can mute it with this button. So if I'm playing on Omegle, it doesn't catch me like, breathing or coughing or making gross sounds, things like that.
Right.
And that's sort of the meat and potatoes. I did recently get a keytar that I indulged
Nice.
on.
Very
Uh,
nice.
Super excited. That's the Korg RKS 200, I think. And then I have main stage running on a Mac over there that's feeding in a piano VST called Garriton CFX Grand Piano.
Okay. So
So
that's
that's the
what you're patching into the Phantom?
correct. Yeah, I can actually control main stage with the Phantom. So I just really like that piano. So in all of my videos, that's the VST I use. It's not a built-in piano sound.
Oh, very cool. Well, I don't know if you know much about bananas, but we have what we call a store in store that is sponsored by Roland and Boss. So we have all kinds of amazing Roland gear right there at our store in Santa Fe. So I know we have that Boss looper pedal, I think the 505,
The
right?
505, yeah.
We've had those, and we've got like a whole pedal station with tons of pedals. And I believe we have a Phantom there as well. But we have our own sort of in-store Roland rep that is there all the time. His name is Ian. So anybody that's watching that has questions about any of that kind of stuff, you can absolutely call the store and talk to Ian about it. But the Phantom is very cool. To me, it's a little intimidating because it's a lot. There's a lot of stuff that it can do.
It's a spaceship. I mean,
Yeah.
it is overwhelming. I've had mine for like a year now, and it's like it's just a lot for sure.
Would you mind doing a little demo of how you kind of loop that through the looper and how you kind of build
Yeah,
something?
sure. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so there's 8 channels up here. So a lot of times what I'll do is have some like sounds called up beforehand. So I'll have like a drum kit, my piano, I'll have like a bass and stuff like that. And yeah, I can just do something for you.
That'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, here we go. Just to be clear, you can hear this, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you can hear this?
Yes.
Perfect.
You're golden. Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what the microphone that you were doing, is that just is that through the TC Helicon?
Actually, so I have another microphone over here that's connected. I get this question a lot. I love talking about it. There's a vocoder on the Kronos that I love so much. The only thing with it is it's really hard to understand what you're saying with the vocoder. So what I decided to use it for is more of a percussive element. So a lot of times I'll just spew random syllables, you know, so it'll be something like stuff like that. And it just adds a lot of rhythmic element. And all I'm really doing is like just stuff like that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, just kind of silly stuff coming out.
Yeah, exactly. Just to kind of fill in the sound.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It was funny because I remember you in one of your videos, somebody was like, "Oh, are you going to sing us a song?" And you're like,
Yeah.
I don't sing. But I saw that microphone come out and I was like, "Oh, maybe he is going to sing."
Yeah, no, not quite, not quite. I do a little bit of singing, but not too much on Omegle.
And I know that you've created a lot of your own music as well. How long have you been writing your own music?
Probably since I started playing piano at 14. I went to school for composition, so I have a degree in music composition.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so I've done all sorts of stuff. I really like writing piano music, but I've written music for games, some podcasts, and random miscellaneous projects.
What games have you written music for that we might know?
The main one is an upcoming one called Shujinko on the Nintendo Switch. Should
Okay.
be out some point later this year.
I
I
can
recently wrapped up my work on that, but that was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome. I know people have asked you about, playing Mario Brothers,
Yeah.
Zelda, stuff like that, and a lot of times you don't even listen to it, you just start playing, which is
I'm a
amazing.
yeah, I'm a big video game fan, big Nintendo guy.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you couldn't tell with all the plushies and things
Yeah,
like that.
and I love the Frank Tedesco and the Mario
Oh,
font
thank you.
there.
Yeah, this thing?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
super
it was a gift for Christmas actually.
that is really
Yeah,
cool.
I don't even know where my friend got it, but really really cool.
When you're making those videos, that you're putting on YouTube, that you're doing on Omegle or Twitch or whatever, how long
Yeah.
does it take you to go through and edit back all of that footage? Because I know you must have just hours of it.
Yeah, so I do some prep work before recording. Sometimes I'll have a few things prepared for people who are like, play anything. You know, I like to have a couple things prepared for that. But generally, I'll have, sometimes it can be up to 10 hours of footage, of raw footage that I'll record for one video. I have to go through
Wow.
and that gets condensed down into a 15 to 20-minute video. Um, And these days I have an editor, which definitely helps, but I still go through all the footage to decide which clips will make it in. And then
Sure.
I send it to my editor, and it takes him a couple days. So about a, I guess, I don't even know how many hours, because a lot of times I'll do an ad integration for a sponsor, and I do jingles for those. So I'm composing
I
something.
noticed. Those are
Yeah.
quite creative.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. They're a lot of fun, and it kind of scratches my compositional itch, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's like we were watching a video one day and the ads started to pop up and
Yeah.
the speaking, I was like, that voice, that sounds like that's him. I'm pretty sure that's him.
Yeah. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. And the brands really enjoy it. So it's because, you know, it's organic, and it's related to what I'm doing instead of me just sitting in
Absolutely.
front of the camera. So um,
Absolutely.
it's really hard to come up with a number of how long it takes, but I would just say a really long time for each video.
Do they give you kind of a guideline of what they want to be for their little jingle, or do you get creative control?
It depends on the brand, but I typically will get some type of brief with things like talking points, things that I either have to say, I should say, and things that I can't say, you know,
Sure.
things along those lines. But a lot of the brands will give me freedom to reword things, because I try to like make lyrics that rhyme. So I'll word it in a way that makes it more like a song.
Sure, sure. What would you say for somebody that wants to get into this type of work? What's a must-have based on, if they're just getting started, maybe they've got a Phantom or something similar, and they want to sort of get in the direction of what you're trying to do. What would you say is a must-have for them?
Do you mean like looping, or specifically content creation online?
Um, yeah, just more the music creation versus the content creation.
Mm. Um, well, I think if you're trying to loop, you know, getting a cheap DAW like GarageBand, I think it's even free. You know,
Mhm.
I don't think you need to spend a lot of money at first on all the bells and whistles. I
Sure.
think that's a mistake that a lot of people make, is they buy too much gear too quickly, and you don't
Yeah.
know how to learn it all. Like all the gear that I have, I've accumulated over 15 years, you
Mm,
know, and I've had this Kronos for like 6 years, way before I had this. If I were to get these at the same time, I would barely be able to scratch the surface of both of them. So one thing I would recommend is just take it slow with the gear, and at first only upgrade as you need things. And
sure.
then, you know, as you start to learn more, you can upgrade more, and depending on your financial position, you know,
Yeah, sure. Of course. Yeah.
and have
Most
fun.
don't have, $150,000 to just get like the whole setup all at once. And
Yeah.
most people can't do that.
Most people, no, but the most important thing is to have fun.
Sure.
Really, I know it sounds cliche, but that really, you have to build your foundation of what you're doing on pure, authentic joy, or else it's just not sustainable, and there's no point.
Absolutely. It must give you such I don't know what to call it, a heart rush, when you just see the shock of people that are like genuinely, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe he's doing that," or you're playing just some song that's really meaningful to them and they're crying and they're just like, "You just made my day," and
Mm.
that must just make you feel so amazing.
It's very overwhelming. It's just, I'm very fortunate to be able to do what I'm doing.
It's
It's
really,
amazing.
really a gift. It really is. And the joy that you spread. And I think, like you said, being inspired by other musicians, when we're looking at or talking to some of our young students, and they're in that still very excited phase of wanting to learn music. And I want to learn to play this. And maybe that's a little out of reach for where they're at yet, but
Yeah.
we can get there and keeping them inspired and keeping them motivated. Um, to be able to get to a level where they can say, "Hey, somebody wants me to play a song," or sit down in the airport. You see videos of people just sitting down and start playing in the airport, and
Yeah.
another random person will come up and start singing, and just the joy of music. If we can share that with other people in whatever form and in whatever way that we're able to do it, I think it's just spreading positivity in the world.
Absolutely. That's my mission, really, is to spread positivity, you know, because there's a lot of negativity online, and I really want my content to be positivity, you know, like genuine positivity. And that's sort of what I've made my mission, you know.
Well, I think you're
And
accomplishing that. I think we can definitely say for sure you're doing that.
thank you. Yeah. And to your point before, I think you're talking about your students wanting to get to a higher level that maybe they can't reach yet. I think the first step in reaching a higher level is to believe that you can,
Absolutely.
which sounds obvious, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes there's a voice in the back of your head that's like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do that. When I started piano, I started pretty late. I was like, I think I started piano too late. I don't think I'll be able to like go to college for it. 14 is kind of late for that. That's only 4 years to get ready for a music school.
Hmm.
But I told myself that I could do it. And it's really important how you talk to yourself that way. Because the way
It
that you
is.
talk to yourself that's the way that you're going to allow other people to talk to you as well.
Correct, and the voices that you allow in your head and what you say to yourself in the mirror, and it sounds hokey in practice when you first start trying to incorporate that positivity back into your life and like looking at yourself. I am beautiful. I'm talented. I can do this. It feels kind of uncomfortable, but the more you do it, and the more you experience that, those inner voices will start to cheer you on more instead of saying you're not going to do it and you can't accomplish that and you're not going to finish. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, it is a key, and it seems kind of hokey, but it does work. I think it
Yeah, I
does.
think it does work. I think we all know it, but it's just sometimes you don't even notice that you're speaking to yourself in a certain way. So
Sure.
I think that's a very important thing, and also surrounding yourself by people who also you got to put in the work too. It's not enough to just tell yourself you can do something. Like you also need to match that with the work ethic for sure. Um,
Exactly.
but also surrounding yourself by a supportive group, a support group. Like I was very
Sure.
fortunate with supportive parents, supportive sister, great friends. I picked friends that really believed in me, and that's super duper duper important, right?
100%. Well, that was when my son, who is now, a Marine and out of the house, and he's like a grown adult, which is
Yeah.
weird for me. But one of the things I was remember telling him when he was younger, sitting him down and saying, "Hey, you need to really take a look at the people that you're hanging out with. Are they encouraging you and motivating you to do positive, good things that are going to benefit you in your life, or are you doing things that are potentially gonna get you in trouble and not put you on a path where you wanna be?"
Right.
And so he kinda went, "Oh, and he had to kinda think about that. And then I think he started making some different decisions, and, luckily he's made some good decisions now, so he's
Yeah.
on a good path, but, not a musical
Amazing.
path, which I kinda thought my kids would go that way, but, my daughter's a bit of a singer, so she's talented with her voice like her mom, but, my son more, he's more physically talented in other things, so
Yeah, yeah. Maybe someday you can pick up an instrument. It's never too
Absolutely,
late. That's the beautiful thing about music. You could be 44 and pick up tuba.
absolutely. I mean, I didn't pick up the guitar until I was, about 30, so
And the tuba's heavy, so he might like that.
yeah. Funny story, he actually played trumpet in middle school, and the band director his 2nd year said, "Oh, we like you to play the tuba," and he was like, "No,
Oh, really?
no, I can't do that." I
That's
said, "You
funny.
want me to pick that up every day and bring it home? Like, I can't do
Oh,
it."
yeah, that's tough.
But he didn't want to anyway, so it worked itself out, but,
Yeah.
so you have a team that works with you. I know you have a usually kind of a gentleman that sits in the back there, and you don't normally see him. And is he sort of editing things or just helping you during the process of making the videos?
So that was probably a collaboration video. Sometimes I'll have guests on for videos. I'll have like a violinist or I'll have a guitarist.
Yes.
But for the filming process, I actually do it all by myself. It's just me in my studio, just like this. I record on Omegle, have my camera going. I record MIDI of my piano on my other computer as like a
Okay.
Patreon reward. But the actual recording process is just me.
Okay. Oh, awesome. So that was going to be one of my other questions. Was some of the content that you do through your Patreon is the MIDI files and like the written music for? Is it just your own songs, or is it anything that you've played throughout the session?
It's the clean WAV file and the MIDI file for every piano tune in the video.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
So
so there's like
that
400 or something now.
oh wow. So you save all of those and then you just push it all out to your Patreon supporters.
Correct.
Oh wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a great incentive because I figured it's a nice thing that's not too much. It's low lift on my end because I already record the MIDI, and a
Hmm.
lot of people really want to learn some of the things that I play in the video. So I figure that's a really neat way to do that.
Sure, sure. Um, well, I don't have any questions coming in from anybody watching. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask?
Yeah, feel free to throw them my way.
Please throw some comments in there because Frank is super quick and he got through a lot of my questions that I thought were going
Oh
to take
yeah,
longer.
we could dive in on anything else deeper if you want to. I'm happy to. Or
Sure.
you play music? You said you played piano when you were younger. Not
I
to
played
flip the
piano.
interview, but
Yeah, I played piano when I was younger. I think I quit around 16, 17.
mm,
That was a mistake. I should have kept playing. That was so all of you teens that are out there and your parents are making you take music lessons, keep going. It will be worth it later. You will be glad that you did.
yeah.
But I picked up guitar when I was 30 and I am a singer-songwriter, so I have a album that I created and
Oh, awesome.
more for myself than really for anybody else,
Yeah.
but that whole process of creating and sort of getting out what your message, what you needed to say, and that was very cathartic and healing for me going through a hard time in my life. So
Yeah, that must have been so fun.
yeah, it really is.
In a way, when you're going through tough times, but it's a nice outlet for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Music is a huge outlet. I think for good times, bad times, we as humans, I think, we gravitate towards music and we can remember songs from years ago and it comes on and you remember the first time you heard it and you remember what you were doing or what you were experiencing in your life at that time. Not every song, of course, but some songs that have a big impact on us for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's like you hear the classic breakup song,
Yeah.
and like song that you were listening to when you broke up with someone and you hear it years later and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm sad for some reason and I don't know why."
Yeah, exactly. I was telling, my boyfriend the other day, a song came on the radio and I said, probably 15, 20 years ago, break up with a boyfriend in high school. This was the song that was on repeat in my
It's got to
bedroom
be.
over
Yeah.
and over and over, and he laughed because it was like, he's like, yeah, I know. Like, I know
Yeah.
how that is.
It is really interesting how it almost like bookmarks certain milestones or points in your life.
Sure, sure. It definitely puts a soundtrack to a piece of your life for sure.
Yeah. Did you record your album yourself or did you go to a studio?
I recorded it myself. I did some stuff in the studio, but a lot
Mm,
of it was just done like here in my living room with, I had a professional producer who came over and he did all the stuff for me because I
awesome.
I wasn't knowledgeable enough to do that. I just wrote the songs. I knew what I wanted it to sound like. So that process was it took quite a long time. It took longer than I thought, but it was more because I was financing it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll do it for sure.
Yeah, I didn't have all the tools that, like, you have where I could have, kind of recorded it myself, but at the time, I had some good friends who knew how to do that stuff, and I had a good producer friend, and, he was able to do it for me, so I'm proud of it. It's not many people hear it, all that. I don't wanna promo myself, flagrant self-promotion,
Yeah, yeah.
but I'm proud of it for saying it's something that I did, and I completed it, and it's definitely a piece of me, so
Amazing. And you have it's there forever. You have like a
yeah,
product that you can just go back on and listen to anytime. And that's amazing. And sometimes it's worth taking the time to do it right, even if it is yourself. Like there's no sense in rushing an album just for
sure.
the sake of rushing an album.
Sure. Did you do a lot of the mixing and stuff on your own, music, or did you send it out to get that done?
I did a lot of it myself throughout the years. Most of it, I would say. Yeah, mostly because a lot of the projects were low budget or just didn't have that type of budget. Um, or I would just simply have the time to be able to do it myself to try to cut a corner. Like when you're working with indie games, it's like there are certain sacrifices you have to make.
Yeah.
Um, but for certain other projects, I was definitely able to get help. I wrote a piano album a couple years ago during quarantine, and I made a piano booklet out of all the sheet music, and I was able to outsource like the album artwork and get the score proofread and revised.
Oh,
So that
wow.
was extremely helpful.
Does that feel pretty good to to say, "I wrote a score," you
It's like
know?
the best feeling ever. It's the best feeling ever because it's a book and I have it, and
Oh, wow.
it's just like it's just I have it in my hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just something about that.
Yeah, it makes you feel proud for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's great having. I love having YouTube videos too because it's something digital that you have forever. It's digitally
Yeah.
archived, but there really is nothing like having something physical,
Well, especially with
tangible.
music, to have it and open it up and be able to see note for note exactly what you played
Yeah.
and have it there and somebody could recreate it. That's amazing, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, having gives the ability for it to be recreated.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. I remember at one time, one of the first songs that I wrote, I was trying to perform it, and a friend wanted to play piano. So I had another friend who was really good with writing and transposing, hearing music and actually writing it out. I mean, he was like a genius at that. And I couldn't have done it myself. And so he offered to write out kind of some basic notes for this piano part of the song. And he did, and I was just in awe, like, oh, this
Yeah.
is amazing, to see it. It's real now. It's actual music, you know,
Yeah.
actual music versus just me sitting with a video and like playing guitar and singing.
Right.
But yeah, to be able to see your own music scored out like that, that's have you ever had like an orchestral thing put together for any of your songs?
By a live orchestra? No,
Mhm.
I haven't gotten work performed by a live orchestra. I would most of the time do the orchestral mock-ups myself.
Okay.
But I haven't gotten a full orchestral score performed. That would be cool though. A lot of
Yeah.
work, but that would
Oh,
be a cool,
for
cool thing
sure.
someday for sure.
Definitely a lot of work.
Yeah, yeah. But that would be a good goal to set, you know?
So, I know you said you have worked on a lot of video game music. What's been like one of the favorites that you've created or that you know how to play that you like to play?
Oh, well, a lot of the stuff that I've done for games is not at the piano. It'll be like in a DAW. So it's hard to say what my favorite is. I haven't done a ton of video game work. The main one is the one that I had mentioned earlier, which
Mhm.
I can't actually play anything for you because it's not out yet. But a lot of the stuff that I've written for games is not at the piano. You know, I'll tend to do that in Logic, which is the
Mhm.
DAW I use with a different keyboard. And it's funny because I do that because sometimes when I try to write at the piano, things that aren't at the piano, I write as if I'm at the piano. Like
Mhm.
if you're trained at the piano, it's like when you start to write, your hands just gravitate towards hand positions and you
Sure.
sort of get boxed in a weird way. So I've actually found that writing away from the piano in a DAW or just doing things like only using one hand, right? It really helps with breaking out of being a pianist.
Sure, kinda get your mindset out of the box a little bit.
Definitely, absolutely. So that's been super duper helpful. But in the game that I most recently wrote for, I got the chance to do some metal music, which was a lot of fun. But that was really cool, like electric guitars and
Yeah,
heavy, double bass drums, and that was really cool. All VSTs for the most
yeah,
part,
yeah.
but great time. I mean, I played in a metal band when I grew up in New Jersey, so it kind of hit home for me.
You're like, "I'm gonna grow my hair out."
Yeah, yeah, really commit to the. I'm a method actor at the end of the day.
Nice. Now I heard you play Interstellar the theme from Interstellar once before, but have you ever played the Game of Thrones theme? I don't think I've ever seen anybody actually ask for that.
I have, yeah. I don't know if I've ever done it on Omegle, but I do. I play that on Twitch sometimes. It's a great one.
Yeah, it's a really good, piece.
Yeah, yeah, I do love that one. I could play it a little bit if you want to
Oh,
hear
that'd
it.
be great. Yeah,
Cool,
that'd be
yeah,
great.
and then you'll be able to hear a little bit of the VST that I was talking about, the Garrett and
Okay,
CFX. So I'll just play a little snippet of
awesome.
it.
Nice.
I love play. I got through like the first two seasons, and then I started watching something else. But I really do need to go
Oh,
back and actually watch through, except the last season, apparently.
Well, I have mixed feelings on that one. That's for a whole nother video chat, I think.
Right. Yeah, I've
But
heard that it was
rewatching it from the beginning is really good because you'll catch stuff that you didn't catch the first time.
I see.
And then some of it'll make more sense. Like we did that recently. We watched all the way through and the final season. It was like, okay, this makes a little, I still don't love it, but
Yeah.
it makes a little more sense. Some
Oh,
of it.
the ending? Like the
Yeah.
last. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I didn't hate it as much the second time I watched it through. So don't come for me in the comments of the video later.
Yeah, well, anytime I play it in on Twitch, there's a wall of comments in chat that are like, "Oh, don't watch the last season." Like the floodgates open whenever I
Yeah.
play it. You know?
Yeah. Everybody has an opinion and it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah, for sure. It is the
Yeah.
internet after all.
Yeah. But the music is so epic for that series and like Interstellar, that's a great movie. That's got great music in it. There's so many
Yes.
great movie soundtracks that I think we don't pay attention to when we're watching the movie because you're watching the video portion of it and you hear the music, but you're not really listening to it
Yeah.
until you sort of put it on later and kind of sit with it and listen, and you go, "Wow, this is really beautiful and amazing," and it didn't affect me that way when I watched the movie because I was paying attention to the movie.
Yeah, for sure. And generally speaking, this is certainly not always the case, but a lot of film music is takes more of a background role, you know.
Sure,
In like especially live action, you'll probably notice in things like animated films that the music is more prominent, has more bold melodies. It's almost like a character in itself,
sure,
you know.
sure.
But a lot of live action music is sort of in the background. So
Sure,
sometimes it's an accomplishment when the audience doesn't necessarily notice it because it doesn't poke its head out too far. Not always though,
right.
but just something.
Yeah, I've seen you do, like, Naruto, and I wanna say Attack on Titan.
Mm,
Did you do one of those too, I think?
I did both of those. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
both of those are
we're
great.
fans of all the anime stuff, so we were like, "Oh,
Amazing.
that's great, we know what that is."
Oh, I love to hear that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. Anime has some fantastic music.
Yeah, really good scores and compositions to some of those and, very memorable and beautiful, and if you didn't I wasn't a big fan of anime when I was younger, I didn't get into it until I was older, but I was like, "This is really well done." It's not just like watching Daffy and Donald on, you know, Saturday
Yeah.
morning television.
Well, there's so much anime, and some of it's not so great, but some of it is really gold.
Yeah.
And I like Attack on Titan, the composer. His name is Hiroyuki Sawano, and
Mm.
he's one of my favorite composers. He did what else did he do? Like I think he did Fairy Tale, a few others, and he's done a lot of films in Japan too. And he just has a beautiful style of composing. So he's a big influence of mine.
Would you like to play a little bit of something of his that you know?
Sure, something. Let's see. Well, the one that most people know and ask for is the opening. The
Nice.
yeah, yeah, that's a good one.
Very cool. Do you have any other, songs that you just like, if you got to pick a song other than your own music that you would just pop in your head, like, "Oh, I gotta go play
Mm.
that right now. It's stuck in my head."
Yeah, I like to play a lot of Final Fantasy music.
Oh, okay.
It's great. There's just something about it. I guess part of it is because that's some of the first music I learned when I started playing was Final Fantasy, and the harmonies are lush. So a lot of times I'll play "To Xanarkin" from Final Fantasy X. Maybe you've heard it. Just like really beautiful voicings and harmony. I love it. I could play that every day. I almost do.
It's so majestic.
It is. It is. Yeah, and it's just a lot of fun to play. It really is.
Yeah, it's so, like, ethereal, and it just feels big, and it has a big presence when you play it.
Yeah, and because it's not overly complex, there's a lot of room for improv and like reharmonizations and things like that. So that makes it a lot of fun. Simpler songs are really fun to play. That's part of the reason why Omegle's really cool because some of the songs that I get are, they're not too complex. It'll be like four chords and a general melody, and that leaves a lot of room for transposition and doing some cool nerdy stuff.
Yeah, add in some fun little stuff that you can do.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I really enjoy that about Omegle. It makes it very fun.
Yeah, that's really neat, and I'm sure you've come across some interesting characters on Omegle.
Well, like I said before, 10 hours of footage cut down to 20 minutes. So
Which I'm sure there's a lot that were really good, but you kinda have to be picky about what your video is gonna have in it.
I do, yeah. I'm very picky about it, and sometimes there are repeats. People ask for the same thing, or a lot of people skip. Like I'll start playing
Right.
something, and we get a lot, and that's fair. Because a lot of people aren't on Omegle to see music. That's a fair point.
Sure,
So it's hard to get too upset about that, but it's just something you have to deal with when you do these videos. That at
sure.
any chance somebody might skip, and because I always have a tendency to like get into the music and look down, sometimes I won't notice that they skipped, so it'll be like a different person while I'm playing. You
Yeah,
know,
you're like, "Oh, they left
like,
me, okay."
oops, oh gosh, I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
So, but
Oh,
it's all
well, good
worth it in
luck.
the end. It's all worth it in the end because you just get a 15 to 20-minute video of like the cream of the crop, and I really enjoy watching it because it's a blast. I really like talking to people. And that's something that I didn't really get to do in my earlier videos because most of my early videos on YouTube were just piano performance. Like I would set up a camera and just play a cover, which was
Mhm.
fine. But I really like talking to people and having conversations and just improvising. And
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. So I really feel like I'm able to sort of highlight the best parts of myself as well in this format.
absolutely. I think that human connection is really important, and it makes it more interesting because 'cause I'm sure you'll get some random request that you're like, "Well, I don't know what that is," but you check it out, "Well, that's actually really cool," and that opens up some really neat chord progressions or
Yeah.
something really neat that maybe you hadn't done in a while and, inspires you to turn around and create more music for you.
Well, it happens all the time. I get a request. I'm like, I have a playlist that I'll add it to, and it gives you a lot of new ideas for your own compositions. It's like, oh, well, that's a really interesting chord. That's something I would say too for people wanting to get more into writing music is when you're listening to a piece and there's something happens that you really like, try to figure out what it is because
Yeah,
then you can use that as a tool in your own music and you can take it and play it in different keys. That's what I do. I hear
sure.
a weird chord progression. I'm like, I really like that. So I figure it out and I learn what it actually is, and then I'll try to learn it in all 12 keys, and then boom, you have a new tool for when you're improvising or when you're composing.
Wow. So you'll learn it in the original key and then transpose it to the other keys and play it that way. Is that what you mean when you
Absolutely,
said do it in
yes,
the other keys?
absolutely crucial in my opinion is to learn things. I mean, it's way easier said than done. I mean, it's very difficult to do that, but if you can master all 12 keys, you'll the one thing you don't want to happen is you take a song request and it's like, oh crap, it's in B major. I don't know B major, you know?
True.
So that's being very comfortable in all 12 keys is kind of how I'm able to do what I do because if I hear a song and my reference note is C and I don't really know what key it's in yet. Let's just say I have no idea, but I'm
Mhm.
listening to the song. I already know what's going on. Like I know the chord progressions and I know what melody it is, but I just don't know what key it is yet. But it doesn't really matter because I'd be able to play it in any key. So it's
Mhm.
like you have the skeleton, and then as soon as I get my reference note and I count up, it's like, oh, okay, I can take that framework and apply it to the key of A flat major.
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah. That's amazing.
Oh,
You have
thank
so
you.
much going on in your brain and so super creative and you're just doing so much great work out there in the world like you said spreading positivity which we need so much of right now. And I have super appreciated you being here today. I don't know if you're limited for time. I mean, I could chat for hours, but
I'm hanging out. But you're the host. Whatever you'd like to do.
well, do you have any new projects coming up? And when do you have another video coming out?
Sure. I have a new video coming out this Saturday, actually, Saturday
Oh,
morning, so the 11th. Yeah, I'm excited for this one. There's some cool stuff in it. I did a loop of a Chopin classical piece that I'm really excited about. So that was a lot of fun.
oh, nice.
Yeah, so that'll be really cool. That's kind of the main thing. I stream quite often. I have a weekly schedule that I post on Twitter and stuff. But I'll be live tomorrow morning, actually. So those are kind of the two main things: live tomorrow morning, and then a new video on Saturday morning.
And are you working on any new songwriting for yourself?
Not at the I did start writing one song that I played in an Omegle video a couple weeks ago, and people really want it, like a full version. So I've been working on that, finishing that up for Spotify and streaming services.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm visiting my parents next week, which is cool. They live in Arizona, so that'll be a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
fun. Yeah.
Where are you actually? Are you in
Yep.
Colorado?
Yep. In
Okay.
Colorado. Yeah,
Okay. Colorado Springs area?
that's the one. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I have friends that are right in that area too. Such a beautiful area.
I love it. Oh, it's beautiful. I do a lot of outdoorsy stuff, so big fan.
Garden of the Gods is like
Yep.
right there.
That's
Yeah,
pretty close. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the big one.
We drove through and visited just for one night on a road trip we did a couple years ago. And my girlfriend that lives there was like, "Oh my gosh, you have to come to this place with me." And she took me there, and we hiked around real early in the morning as the sun was coming up, and took my breath away. It was
Yeah.
beautiful,
It's gorgeous.
beautiful.
It's something you have to do if you visit the area.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so much fun. So there's a lot of stuff to do. I mean, so countless hike trails and all sorts of fun things. It's a wonderful time if you like outdoorsy stuff.
Have your parents watched your videos?
They do, yeah, they do, and they
Yeah.
watch my streams too, actually, which is really
Oh,
fun. They're very supportive because they were actually in the music industry themselves.
oh,
That's how
okay.
they made a living, which is wild. So they've been very very supportive, which is something I don't take for granted because it's hard enough to make a career in music, but when you don't have support at home or from friends, it's just
Sure.
it makes it that much harder. So I that is a blessing for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, having support from the family and the friends, it's priceless.
Yeah, absolutely. And that those are kind of the main things. I'm just always trying to improve, like no big projects specifically at the moment that I can think of, but always just trying to get better every day, get my ear better, better technique, talk to more people and just keep going, Always have more goals. That's the idea.
Absolutely. Keep shooting further and keep going, and sometimes we're gonna fail, and that's okay because it's always a learned lesson, but, keep shooting for the goals and keep going because you will keep accomplishing it.
Yeah, absolutely. The only way to not fail is to not try stuff. you
Absolutely.
know?
Absolutely. Do you wanna play a couple more songs?
Yeah, I could play you something else. Let me think. Let me think. I could play you something that I wrote that was for it
Okay.
was for a game that actually didn't get released.
Oh,
Um, unfortunately, but I was able to release it as a single and I made a piano version of it. So something a little more epic and upbeat for solo piano.
okay. Yes, please.
Cool. I'll switch my camera angle so you don't have to look at my face.
Wow. Those minor chord progressions you did, the little walk down that you did, that was very don't want to say it because I feel like it might be insult, like Harry Potter-esque. That
No, no.
those chords, it sounded very
Yeah,
similar to me.
definitely very John Williams-esque. These little kind of just walking
Yeah.
down and try it. Yeah, that's a good pickup actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like that first there was like a little section of it right in the beginning and I was like, "Oh, that sounds similar, the chord progression to
Yeah.
some stuff from the Harry Potter theme." But
Absolutely. Yeah, he does a lot of those, like what would it be like all these like different chords where you're kind of walking down in a triadic fashion. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I hope you're not hearing that. I tried to turn this off and
Oh, you're fine. No worries. No worries.
I had to get a new laptop, or I had to borrow a laptop because my laptop decided to die yesterday.
Oh no. Oh, that stinks.
So I'm using a borrowed laptop, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know how to turn off this notification on here."
Oh, that's the worst. That's the worst.
Yeah, but what was the song? So when we were watching your videos, and I said, "Well, what song would you ask Frank? Like, if we paired with Omegle, what song would you want?" You said Moonlight Sonata.
Oh, the first movement?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's a good one.
Dramatic.
A lot of people on Omegle will troll me and ask for the third movement, which is like the crazy one.
Oh, right.
That's a really nice one. You'd be surprised how much Beethoven people ask for on Omegle. Usually it's like for release, but I guess because people associate piano with Beethoven, they're like, "Oh, play Beethoven,"
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I got surprised a couple times on your videos where somebody would so and so's number 7 opus or something. And I'm like, they must be a musician if they even know what the title of that work is.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I know. I remember I got one person who asked for. They were just a wild group. They were so much fun. They were goofy, and all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, can you play the Revolutionary Etude?" And I'm like, that is such a niche, specific classical piece that you never know what you're going to get on Omegle. That's one of the things that makes it so fun. Is that it's like you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to pop up. I'll be like waiting to play for someone, and a guy will pop up, and there was a guy in a canoe. He just had his computer, and he was just or in a kayak. He was just kayaking.
Really?
Yeah, it's so much fun. You just never know what you're gonna get.
Can I provide you some kayak music, sir?
Yes, please. That's why I'm here.
That's so funny. I enjoyed the gentleman. I don't remember what his name was or the name of the song he asked for, but it was something from TikTok. And at the very beginning of the video, he said something like the children from his basement got rescued. Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah. I don't know what was up with that.
And but when you started playing and you actually played the song, he started singing with you and he was so overjoyed. And I was sitting here with like tears in my eyes, like, it's so heartwarming,
yes. I think his name was Daniel. He was a sweetheart. It was funny because you never know how it's good. Like I was thinking about skipping. I was like, this is a bit strange, but I was like, let me just ride it out, see what happens. And he ended up being a sweetheart.
Yeah, it was really beautiful. And but some of the people, they're so skeptical, they go, "Okay, play this."
Yeah.
And you go, "Okay, well, let me listen to it." You listen to it, and then you start doing it, and they're like, "No way."
Yeah, it's really I do enjoy that. I do enjoy seeing their reaction for sure. Sometimes I don't even see it until afterwards, when I'm watching the footage, because if I'm playing, especially if it's a hard live learn, I'm like, it's so much going on that sometimes I have like my face just looks like there's no thoughts going on, but really I'm just like thinking about this and this and that. And then when I'm playing, I have to like really focus on trying to remember, because sometimes it'll be like 2 sections of a song. So not only do I have to learn a section, but I have to learn it and then store it in short-term memory so I can learn the chorus and then store that. And then, so it's like a lot of times I don't look up and see their reaction until afterwards when I'm going through, and I'll be like, "Oh, so nice."
Oh, that's awesome. I know I was hoping that we would have, more people commenting because I was hoping maybe somebody would do a song recommendation that kind of on the fly just to see kind of what you do.
Yeah.
So now I'm trying to think of something like, okay, I'm gonna think of something random that he's never heard before.
Mm.
And I'm
Well,
having the hardest time.
what's one of your favorite songs? Maybe I can look up something like that.
No, I'm not gonna make him do one of my songs. No, I'm not gonna do that.
That would be fun. That would be fun. No pressure though.
No pressure. You could do that if you want to. There's it's called Light, and it's by,
Where would I find it?
so it's on Spotify or Apple or iTunes.
Okay.
It's
Light.
just my first name.
Okay. And then okay, there's a bunch that are coming. TAUB?
No, that because my name has a weird meaning in a bunch of different languages, so they
Okay.
it gets used. But if you search Shayna Puzzle, you should find the album. Again, flagrant self-promotion. I'm sorry. I did not intend for that. He threw it at me.
Is it SHAYNA or
SHAANA.
Oh.
Yeah, different spelling. I'm sorry.
Okay, there we go. Puzzle.
So there's one called Light in the same album. And
Okay.
that's like his favorite
Got
song.
it. Okay, I see it. Okay. So for example, so I know it's in C sharp minor because
Yeah,
I hit
yes,
C. Yeah. So I hit C. And so like if I was doing a live one right now, like I've already established the key, so I'll be able to just like go. If that
Yeah.
makes sense. Oh, this is great.
Thanks. now I'm blushing. I'm embarrassed.
Well, the pressure's on me, right? What if I totally do a horrible job?
Right?
Right? Oh, you have a lovely voice.
Thank you.
I'll do that part. I also really like the album artwork.
Oh, thank you so much. That was amazing.
You're so welcome.
That made my day for sure.
I feel like I'm on Omegle right now.
Yeah. Except you can't skip me.
That's true. That is true.
Well, I think I've taken up way too much of your time today, but I could go on for hours. It's amazing talking with you and just getting to share the music with you, and I appreciate it so very much.
You're very welcome. I appreciate the opportunity and taking the time to talk with me as well.
Yeah, and we'll be watching your videos. But if there's anything else that you want to add, anything, so you have a video coming out in 2 days on the 11th, right?
Yep, that's the main thing.
So YouTube, you can catch him on YouTube. I will try to put that on the bottom here. Let's see. We'll put his website one more time. And we'll put his YouTube link right here. So you can check out all of Frank's videos right there on YouTube. They are amazing and very entertaining. And you will get totally sucked in and you'll be going, oh my gosh, I want to go on Omegle so I can connect with Frank.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you again. I would love to do this again sometime, and I will be catching all of your future videos. And again, just thank you. You've totally made my day doing that. You didn't have to, but I appreciate it. And
it was my pleasure. I love doing this stuff. Really, it's very fulfilling. So thank you.
Well, you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm going to pop you in the back end here, and we're going to say goodbye to all of our visitors. And thank you for watching, and catch us again in the future.
Cool. See ya. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.